It's time for Arts This Week, your download of the latest arts and culture events in and around Boston. If there's any skepticism that the Marvel franchise Black Panther could continue after the death of its star Chadwick Boseman, take your cues from the new film's title. Wakanda Forever is a return to the once secret, idyllic country now finding itself on the world stage. But grief in the nation is paramount. The film begins with King T'Challa's death, as sudden and untimely as Boseman's own from cancer 2 years ago. That leaves Wakanda's queen, played by Angela Bassett, and its princess, played by Letitia Wright, to both mourn and lead a nation in the glare of intensifying international scrutiny. Wakanda also faces a new enemy, Namor, a vengeful leader of the underwater world, Talokan, a beefcake baddie with winged feet and the ability to breathe below the sea. To keep Wakanda forever, it's the women who are in charge, as the leaders and warriors, battling grief, the tangle of international interests, and the ferocious force of its sudden enemy from the ocean. It's a storyline that, like Black Panther, makes this film a worthy entry to redefine the superhero genre. From 1977 to 1989, Arnie Jarmac lived in Chelsea, Massachusetts. It was a community he adopted and which embraced him as he became the chief photographer of the daily newspaper The Chelsea Record. The McMullen Museum of Art at Boston College is presenting a show of Jarmac's work, a beautifully layered look at a crumbling community populated by proud, enduring people. Jarmac came to photography by way of a voracious consumption of literature, philosophy, economics, and history that gave him a sense of humanity. By way of photographers like Matthew Brady documenting the Civil War and Walker Evans distilling the Great Depression. All that gave Jarmac a sense of how that humanity looks. That, plus an empathy Jarmac says he inherited from his mother, sing in his Chelsea photography. The joy in the heavily lined faces of Chelsea's elders, contrasted with the wide-eyed jubilance of its youth. His figures are cinematic, his landscapes, poetry. Chelsea had been a thriving city until the 1950s and the construction of the Tobin Bridge. It ripped out an entire neighborhood, erased a huge tax base, gave rise to tank farms to compensate for the lack of tax base. It brought pollution and literally rained down lead poisoning. All enough to drown a city. But Jarmac reminds us of the city's valiant firefighters, the ladies who take their seats, and likely no prisoners, the Norman Rockwell-esque Sunday rituals. There is immense understanding and kindness in Arnie Jarmac's work. Before leaving photography behind some 30 years ago, he illustrated the headlines. Now this work reveals, all along, Arnie Jarmac was a headliner. I've always felt like a star. That's a quote attributed to Louise Nevelson, the great 20th century artist. She certainly died as one in 1988, but it took her decades of making before audiences and the art world caught on to what she was doing. She's most recognizable today for her immense black sculptures constructed as temples of all manner of form and shape and things. They're repositories of looking and light. So the Farnsworth Art Museum in Rockland, Maine has titled its new Nevelson exhibition, Dawn to Dusk. After her family emigrated from present-day Ukraine in 1905, the young Louise was raised in Rockland. Then it wasn't an especially hospitable place for outsiders, especially Jewish ones. So she made New York City her lifelong home. But toward the end of her life, Nevelson established a relationship with the Farnsworth, which now has the second largest holding of her work. This is a small but mighty show. We find her early sculptural forms. There are 3D echoes of her early paintings, including one self-portrait that reveals her looking both fabulous and fraught. Nevelson was a constant churner, absorbing, collecting, and reinventing, all to keep propelling forward, making etchings, assemblages, collage. But she always returned to sculpture, making it ever more monumental, except in the case of the miniature, like her jewelry. "I want to be a sculptor," she said. "I don't want color to help me." Speaking of help, Nevelson's stardom had an assist in how she sculpted herself. Always striking, almost always with not one, but 2 sets of false eyelashes. Now here's what I'm looking forward to next week, including some slapstick comedy. The play that goes wrong at Lyric Stage Company of Boston offers up everything that could befall an amateur theater troupe, but all in one calamitous night. And Tir Na, a great conveyor of all things Irish, presents the award-winning comedy Trad, about a father-son journey through the Irish countryside. It plays through mid-December at the Boston Center for the Arts. This has been your Arts and Culture Download. I'll see you here and in Ireland next week.